Have you ever been reading a celebrity pastor's blog post or listening to a famous Bible teacher and something jumps out to you and you're just like, how am I the only person seeing this thing? Why isn't anyone talking about it? Well, you're not alone. Welcome to Underdog Theology. This podcast is about looking at what's happening in evangelicalism. I'm talking tweets, I'm talking books, blogs, videos, all of it, and judging it according to Scripture. Whether that's reacting to celebrity pastors, teasing about the latest ridiculous battle in the culture war, or just having a little bit of fun together, this show is for all the folks who feel like they're on the outside looking in, who feel like they don't have a voice, who feel like they're an underdog. Welcome to Underdog Theology.
I've had Top Gun stuck in my head since last night. I took a quiz on movie scores. Did pretty well, but they played Top Gun. And, now it's going to be stuck in my head for the rest of the year, so be prepared for me trying to whistle it.
I can't do it. Guys, what's wrong with me? I feel like there's something just like there's a hole in my soul where whistling is supposed to be, and I just can't do it, and it's frustrating, and it's a burden that I carry every day, and I thought I could share it with this community. So don't you be making fun of me because I said it's a burden, and now don't you feel like a jerk because you were kind of typing it, you were about to make fun of me, and then I was like, oh, it's like really hurtful. You can't hear me? What? That doesn't seem like it should be the right thing. Everything looks crystal clear on my sound levels in Ecamm. Yeah, your mic levels are a wee bit low. That really shouldn't be. What is going on with this technology? I can see it coming in crystal clear on Ecamm. Like I can see the green, we're hitting reds even when I get loud. I will try to boost it a little bit here, but even then sound is fine, but you're just a little soft. What about now? Can you hear me now? The first 10 minutes of our streams, apparently, you could just skip because it's just going to be me trying to figure out if my sound is okay, even though I don't mess with it. Like no one's in this room, except the ghost in our house. But that's about it. I hear sounds is what I'm trying to say. Much better. It really shouldn't have to be that loud. That's frustrating, to be honest. But you know what? I could turn that down to where my headphones aren't cranking my own voice back at me. That would be nice. All right, let's just hang out. We got some things to talk about. A couple people interacting with some stuff we talked about last week. I want to get going with that. We got a Doug Wilson interview that I'm pretty sure he wrote from both perspectives, which I find just like, isn't that about the most Doug Wilson thing you've ever heard of in your life? Like, him writing as both the interviewee and the interviewer is pretty funny to me. So we got one little thing I want to talk about with that, and then we'll dive into our main topic, which is, guys, we're going to be taking a look at this. All right. This is a trailer reaction that Mark Driscoll did. How stupid of a sentence is that? Mark Driscoll doing trailer reactions now. Man, even me being the movie guy, like I kind of don't like doing trailer reactions, even though it gets views, because it's so dang dumb. And he's just like, we could use this. So we're going to be talking about Christian YouTubers and their obsession with Hollywood. Now, I know right off the bat, I'll just say this. I know that is going to seem hypocritical to some. All right, because you're going to look at the background and be like, why is this guy saying like you shouldn't talk about Hollywood? I'm not saying that. I like talking about Hollywood. I love talking about movies. But there's a way that we do it as Christians that I think it's just so problematic. It doesn't help our cause. And honestly, it shows the heart of some of these people. And I want to discuss that because I think it's important. And I think that a lot of Christians are falling into a trap of like pseudo wars. Like there are fake wars that are going on. And people are just like kind of stirring people up so they could be upset about something when they don't need to be upset about that thing. And it's a weird extremism that we're doing of just trying to make it as many people as possible, as extreme as possible. And it's not helpful. And I don't know if this is the main point of these guys, but it is definitely one of the outcomes. And we're seeing it more and more in culture. So I want to talk a little bit about that. Let's hop with the chat though and say, what's up?
Big yikes.
All right. Let's go. Audio levels are low. I get it, guys. Thanks for helping me out, though. What is this? What is this huge block? Why does technology always fail me? I don't know what's going on. Guys, I'm serious. I do the same settings, and then I leave it alone. I leave it. I don't come back to it. I don't stream really on my other channels. So. All right. There. I'm last week in the stream wishing we could talk about Mark Driscoll again. Seems like you just like me that much, Dean. I will say, like you guys, I do this stuff for you, for the people. And so if you guys want to talk about something, throw it in the chat. People that you want me to check out, I will do it. Like we could have discussions about it. So I'm not saying it's exactly what I was thinking when I picked this for our topic, but it wasn't not what I was thinking. I was like, oh yeah, I remember somebody. I didn't remember who exactly. Sorry, Johnny. But I remember somebody being like, hey, let's see what's going on with Mark Driscoll. So we got other people. It might be both. I don't know. It's like on Madagascar with the whistling. Pretty much. Thanks for making fun of me. And so, so now I'm a cartoon. Okay. All right. I see how it is. All right. I love doing that to people like me. I love like giving them a reason to make fun of me and then being like, and you fell for it. You made fun of me. Don't you feel bad about yourself now? Like, it's fun. So Sims, what's up? What's up, boy? Oh, what do we got? We don't.
I don't know what any of that means.
Okay. It is okay, Dean. A real man isn't afraid to be soft. Well, here's the deal. I want to see any of these real men who are like, we're so strong, and we're not fat, and like they're all gruff and tough online, and then they go and sit in their study all day and like barely do anything. But like they do that. I want to see them come up here and you go walk 2 kilometers in the -20 weather. How about that, bro? How about you have your beard literally freeze? You man up and do it. Huh? Don't come at me because I can't whistle. All right. This is the kind of stream you're in for today. Hit the like button if you're here. 37 people, 15 likes. Not a great ratio. Let's go. We're going to skip Steven and him saying greetings all because I'm mad at Steven. I'm not. I just thought it'd be something to say. All right. Let's see. We got Heidi. What? Dean, did you see the Brian Sauvé tweeted that if you are obese, he doesn't want to hear what you have to say? Well, that checks out for people like him. Also, guys, I really don't like this whole thing going on where, like, if someone has any kind of issue, you can't listen to them. Like, let's go with the obese thing for a second and give them that and say, like, all right, everyone who is bigger is obviously a glutton, which isn't the truth, but let's just give them that. So you have one singular issue and you're saying because of that, I don't have to listen to anything you ever say. Like, what the heck is that? Even with the Christian nationalists, if they say something that is credible and helpful, like, shouldn't we listen to that? Like, it isn't just, oh, everything this person has ever said is now trash because they're a Christian nationalist. I don't think that anyone's doing that or at least anyone with like a rationality, like anyone using their head is going to be saying that. So it's just so obvious that this guy is so sensitive toward probably his lack of education, his lack of experience, his past ministry, which hasn't been a success. The guy has 50,000 followers on Twitter, but he has split churches. He has wavered. Like the guy went from being Calvary Chapel to then being Reformed Baptist to then being Presbyterian to now being some form of Presbyterian with Doug Wilson. Like that is a lot of changes within like 5 years. All right. Like the guy is not someone who should be respected for his theology, for his theological takes. So like you add all of those things and he knows that. I think that he's probably just mad about what some people say, including people like me. And so, you know, if you could just throw this one thing on and say, well, you're fat, so I don't have to listen to you. That's super easy, right? It gets you out of a lot of hard conversations, and maybe conversations that you're not equipped for. So I think that's probably a huge part of it. And specifically, I saw what Heidi's talking about is this ongoing thing between like the Antioch Declaration that we looked at last week. They're still mad about that. And I guess the only thing that they can combat these guys with, because there's no rationality to what they're saying, because obviously there's no history to what they're saying with their questioning of the post-World War narrative. Like, it's absolutely ridiculous. And so what they're doing is they're attacking that Tobias guy in his weight. Like, that's how silly those guys are. That's how mature they are. So, you know, I'm sure that even if they saw this, they would giggle to themselves and say, we got him. But it's just like it's junior hires who are now in charge of churches. And I think eventually the people will outpace that. Like, because there's a thing that happens. All right, let's get real for a minute. All right, these pastors who are so concerned with their tweets and their social media, they're not really studying the Bible. How could they? Right? Like, I mean, I have a podcast here, you know, like I put a lot of effort into this every week. I do streams. I got the movie channel that I'm trying to work on. Those are hobbies. And then I got my family, right? I got all these responsibilities that I have. These guys have those responsibilities too. So if they're going to be investing all that time, how much time do they actually have to prepare? Like, because they're writing the blogs, they're preparing all this content, and they're probably doing it on the church's dime, which is problematic. But even if the people are agreed with that, what that means is that they're taking away from their actual study of the Word of God, which means that they're not growing the way that a pastor should. Like, this is one of the main problems that I have with plagiarism, is like AI, all this kind of stuff for pastors and how they come up with their sermons. Because if you're not in the Word like that, you aren't growing that rate that a pastor should be growing. Here's what I'll say. All right. I'm not saying it happens. I'm saying that I think that a pastor should be spiritually growing faster than his congregants. All right. They should, because they're literally being paid to be in the Word. So if they're not in the Word, they're not growing at the rate that a pastor should spiritually. So the people are going to outpace him. Right? Even if it's like age-wise, someone's been a Christian for much longer, they're more spiritually mature than their pastors. That happens all the time. It's nothing wrong with that, you know? Like, it's just part of life. Like, you're in the Word longer for a prolonged amount of time. Of course, you're going to be a little bit more mature than your pastor. It doesn't mean you can't learn anything from him. Hopefully, he is studying so hard that he comes up every week with something that is helpful for you as a Christian to grow, even if you're more spiritually minded than they are. All right, that should be happening. But these guys, they're not in the Word, so they're getting outpaced by their congregants who are younger than them. Like, how long is that going to be able to continue? Not for much longer. You know, like you got guys in like their 20s who are all riled up on Mountain Dew. You know, like they're all riled up on their Christian nationalism Mountain Dew. All jacked up on Mountain Dew. That's the phrase. But they're young and they're excited and they're passionate, and they're going to use, like, these leaders are going to use that passion and that excitement. But eventually those guys, because if they are actually passionate about God's Word, not just like culture, let's say they go further than their pastor and they actually study the Bible, eventually those people are going to outpace those pastors, because those pastors are so concerned about content, and they're busy making content and working out the strategies of having people, even logistics of having people on the show and blah, 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 working on that. And that person who gets home, they spend an hour in their Bible every night. Well, that's maybe even more than what that pastor's doing every day for their sermons. Like that's going to create some issues down the road. So might not be real soon, but I'm saying like 10, 20 years, these guys are going to get outpaced by their congregants, and those congregants are going to get starved for the word, something deeper, something richer, and they're going to go and find other churches. It's going to happen. Plus, you add like the whole fad of it, of people being like, they're all excited about this one thing for right now. Like for a while, it was Calvinism with the Young Restless Reform movement. Well, that becomes, not as popular. So they go find something else that's going to be popular. That's going to happen too. But these guys are going to get spiritually outpaced by their congregants. So, it's really easy to just be like, I don't have to listen to somebody because of this one singular issue that I think is, the main issue, or it's really just an excuse so they don't have to talk to those people or deal with their criticisms. And notice that it's always when it's someone who's critical, like right now, they're probably starting to make those jokes about Doug Wilson. But they would have never done that like 3 weeks ago, right? Like it's now that there's a criticism with the Antioch Declaration. So that's what I think about that. What's up, Mark? Come on, Dean, do some trailer reactions. Get those subscriptions up. Do you even YouTube, bro? Yeah, there's a part of me that goes like, maybe I should. But then it's also like, what kind of audience do you want to build? Like I don't know. I want people to come to my stuff because they actually like my opinions, not because they're like, shut up, I'm watching the trailer. Then go watch the trailer. All right, Johnny. Oh, so that's why the other YouTubers are in the background. And there I was wondering, what do you meme has in common with Driscoll? Actually, probably a lot more than you'd think. So Sims, hey underdogs, I know that we agree that TD Jakes' theology is problematic, but he had a health emergency yesterday during his service and was sent to the hospital. Keep him in your prayers. Yes. I didn't want to talk about this, but I'm kind of feeling compelled, and since I'm already going off the rails a little bit. Virgil Walker shared a video of that the other day, like yesterday. He clipped it out, and he just put it as like, first he said there was this health emergency. So like, I think the idea was to pray for him. And then he shared the video, and what is that? That's an honest question. Like, what is that other than getting clicks? Like, cause it's not even like, hey guys, be in prayer for this guy. Like, I appreciate that, Sims. Like, we should be in prayer for, whoever who has like some kind of stroke. Like, you care about people. He's a person, even if you don't think he's a Christian, because he doesn't hold to Trinitarian theology. So I don't believe he is a Christian. But like, you pray for anybody who's hurt and like whatever. But I saw that and was just like, what is that about? Like, I don't think anyone needed to see the video of it and clipped up in that way. And then just to see like likes and shares and stuff. That's gross. Like, I don't know where we're at in culture where we just share things so that we can get, at least in my mind, some publicity from it. It's just so odd to me. But yes, we should be praying. Carrie Ann says, I can't whistle either. I appreciate that. Scary Mo says, Brian Sauvé comes off as a dude sitting in the corner of a gym trying to convince everyone around him that he's not okay, by screaming about how masculine he is. Maybe some truth to that. I don't know. Like, I really don't like the guy. I've had my interactions. Talked about that here on the channel. Not a fan. Just personally not a fan. Like, obviously his theology is whack. His whole mentality of how to use the internet, I think, is just so childish. But then just personally, I just don't like him. So moving on. Another Mark Driscoll controversy. At this point, I'm thinking Mark Driscoll is trolling us. 100% he is. And, today we're falling for it, I guess. Caveat says, hey, talking Drisky business. Drisky business. All right. We need a little song. If someone can't defend his position apologetically, he resorts to ad hominem attacks. 100%. It's a very easy thing to fall into when you aren't equipped for that conversation. Like, there's a reason why pastors go to seminaries. There's a reason why colleges exist. Calvary Chapel and it being an institute, it's about the most weak sauce education you could have. Like, I'm not trying to shame anybody, but don't come into these conversations. Like, if that's your education, that's your education. Or even if you didn't have an education, you just learned from your pastor, took over from your pastor, and like that's your thing. That's fine. Just don't hop into conversations as if everyone else is wrong and you're the source of truth. That's my biggest thing. Like, you could say this is my opinion, but the way that guy goes about things and that whole crew goes around saying things, they have like 1 year of post-grad work between all of them. Like, these are not the people to be listening to. Like, these are not experts in the slightest. And they're not like the geniuses who, like, of the past, that, like, Spurgeon. Spurgeon didn't go to college. He just learned from reading books. He just learned from his grandpa's library. And he was just like one of those guys that could just absorb it like a sponge. That's not these guys. Don't compare these guys to Spurgeon or someone like that. My son invited me to a new church. He is thinking about joining. Turned out to be Antiochian Orthodox. I'm still nauseous from all the incense. I've voiced my concerns. Please pray for him. I will. There's, some Orthodox people who watch this channel. I'm very confused as to why. They're welcome. But yeah, not a church I would support. Fresca is way better than Mountain Dew, though. I'm not trying to give them any ideas. Here's the deal. The one thing that John MacArthur's got is that Fresca is pretty great. Like, one, no carbs, very low. I think there's like only a couple carbs. And then just tastes so good. It's like it's lemon. Like, how could he go wrong with lemon? So he's got that right. He's got his problems. But Johnny Mac knows what he's talking about when it comes to Fresca. Dean, are you saying that we may come to some sort of saturation point if this trend continues in churches? 100%. 100%. And people are going to be upset at their pastors and how focused they've been on other places and not in the pews. I think that's going to happen for sure. I'm here for Off the Rails, Dean. All right. Well, let's get nuts.
Boy, that escalated quickly.
That was so quiet.
That really got
Why was that one so quiet? Just a quick sec, because I've already had all kinds of tech things. I'm going to bump up the volume on some of these things because it is just so frustrating to me. Just give me 1 minute if I can figure out how to do this. Okay. There's that. We'll bump up the volume all the way. That's not even that much, to be honest. Let's try it. Now?
Boy, that escalated quickly.
That is a very quiet sound effect.
Really got out of hand fast.
All right, we're going to stop doing that. Oh, no, what I'm doing. All right. Let's see. Cal says, oh, no, I just got here. I have missed it. No, you haven't. What up, Dean? What's going on? Oh, nothing much. Just freaking negative 20 out. And it's so cold. And it's just, it's frustrating. Guys, it snowed. And it's just like, it just happened. Like, I know it happens every year. But like, usually it's gradual. And this year it wasn't gradual. It was just like, it was nice. And we're like, oh, this is going to be a mild winter. And then it's just like, nope, it's negative 20 and it snowed 9 inches. And it's just, what a bummer. And then like, you still got to exist. Everyone's still got to go places and do their stuff. It's just so sad. It makes me sad every year when it starts to get this way. I'm very much one of those people that's just like, oh, I need it to be bright out. I guess I'll catch the replay. Anyone want an Underdog Christmas playlist? Heck yeah, we do. Everybody wants that. Everybody tell them. Cal, like, flood the comments, flood the chat, and say, Cal, please. Cal, please. We want that Christmas playlist. I saw that Dean killed a guy. Oh, snap. there was fire and horses, and I stabbed a guy with a trident. Okay. What's up, Aaron? World famous author Aaron Armstrong here. Dean, the Toronto hat is offending all Canadians who don't live in Toronto, but only because Toronto is the worst. Here's the deal. If Winnipeg, even Winnipeg, if they had an NBA team, I would be sporting that hat so quick, okay? But it's the only one I can sport. And my kids love the Raptors, so we're a Raptors household. And I'm not going to take any abuse for that. Aaron, Aaron, we're not doing that today. All right. Plus, Scotty's pretty great, and he seems to be on the up and up. And so you probably don't even watch basketball, but it's going okay. We're what, like 4-12? It's not great, but it's it's a rebuilding year. What's up, David? David, hope you're doing really well, man. Let's see. We want the Christmas playlist. Oh come Emmanuel. That better be at the top. It better be House of Heroes. It's my favorite version. Okay, that's my one request. You do your own thing, Cal, but that's the one I want. All right, we got 66 people watching, 26 likes. So to the 40 haters who are just waiting for me to say your freaking name, hi. Oh man, here's the deal, guys. I'm getting really tired of this. But they watch every single week. Every single one of these people. Mark Driscoll will probably watch this, or somebody on his team will watch it. That's happened. Last week we had someone who watched it and wasn't in the title, was barely in the thumbnail. So I'm assuming that means like a weekly watcher. We got Nate Wright. Went on to Twitter because I got a notification, and yes, because I still have the account. I'm not tweeting anymore, but I'm using it to kind of catch up with stories and follow some people. And then I got a notification that somebody tagged me, and I was like, I thought you can't even tag because I'm like privatized, but apparently you can, because Elon's just like, let's have them be able to do anything they want. It doesn't matter if you block them. Doesn't matter if you put the lock on your account. Doesn't matter. They can do whatever they want. Okay. Well, Nathaniel Wright, who is at Nate P. Wright, says, well, at Reforming Nerdom got its first bit of hate when Dean Lentini, at Dean Lentini, accused us of being nerd culture. What? Using nerd. Sorry, this. I know how to read. Okay, it's just like it's really small. Accused of us of using nerd culture to quote push Christian nationalism. How dare I? Apparently, that means hate. For me to be able to state the obvious, but for some people, it's not as obvious as it may seem. In case we weren't clear enough, that's exactly what we're trying to do. No crap, dude. Everybody knows. That's why I said it, to just make it as abundantly clear as possible for anyone that these are the tactics. But like I shouldn't say everybody knows, because a lot of people probably haven't watched it because it's not big and it never will be. And try all you might. It's not going to land in the algorithm. So have fun with your 6 episodes before you quit. All right, I'm getting mean. I want to thank Underdog Theology for giving us our first big boost. And then he linked to this. Let's go over. Let's go to youtube.com, this website that I hear is pretty cool. Let's go to Reforming Nerdom, and let's see what this big boost is. Oh, look. Oh, that still stayed. That's weird.
Imagine a world where every epic saga, every heroic journey, and every...
Starting. The big boost. 40 subs, 11 videos, 82 views. That's the big Underdog boost. The world famous Underdog boost. I'm sorry. I'm just like, this isn't some huge channel that if we talk about you, it's going to blow up your channel. Like, I don't know. Like, that's just frustration, obviously, from this guy. But I don't even know why he's all that frustrated. I'm stating obvious things, according to him, that they're using it to push Christian nationalism. It's what the Mormons do. They go on to other things and they try to make it to where they're like, oh, like a makeup influencer, like that they're about makeup, and follow them because they're just like any other makeup influencer. They're just really positive. And then all of a sudden they're like, Mormonism, you know, like they just like spring it on you. And that's what these guys are doing. And so we showed a clip. So this is them saying I'm right. So I guess I'm right. But cool. So I'm assuming that guy watches fairly often, which is usually the case from those kind of people because they're media junkies, guys. All these people, they just watch and they watch the things that they enjoy, and then they watch so much stuff that they don't enjoy. And I think that these people are starting to get to where they just think like that's just life, like that's normal to just hate watch all the things. Like it's one thing, like for this show, I watch some things that I wouldn't just on, my own private time. But I can guarantee you, I'm not watching every single thing that the Christian nationalists are putting out because it's not fun. I like watching videos about movies because it's fun. I actually like watching movies. I actually like reading comics. I can prove it. I didn't even have to get up. Comics. Prove it that you read comics. These guys, they're just so obsessed with watching this channel, and channels probably like it, or following after these leaders, or not leaders, but like people on social media, these, influencers in circles that they don't like, and they're just like obsessed with it. And it's just, you guys need to calm down, okay? Just realize that people are going to have differences of opinions, and they're going to make videos that maybe because you guys are so public and so out there, that they will probably use some of your stuff. So it's not a personal thing. I don't know this guy. But yes, I'm going to point out the fact that they are pushing Christian nationalism. So I appreciate them just saying that Dean Lentini is right. That's helpful, I guess. All right. And again, good luck with YouTube. Good luck with your podcast. Like I said, about 15 to 20 years too late. No definitive difference between other angry anti-woke stuff. So have fun trying to stand out. Okay. I'm sure the 12 people who are Christian nationalists and actually like Star Wars will probably join it. Actually, there's probably more, but I'm just saying. All right. That was enough being mean. Let's talk about this. All right. Doug Wilson. All right. He put out an article today that I just thought was super funny. Because, all right, let me actually go to this one too. All right. Since we're wasting a lot of time in between things, if you came for like just, really concise stream, you don't know me. But this is so funny to me. Let me get this one down because I put it in the wrong category and it would show up in the other scene. All right, but here we go. So this is this. I'm sorry to do this to you. If you were like, wait, I don't want to see any of this stuff. I've been trying for so long to stay away, and now you're like, oh no, I saw it. The trigger warning. I should have warned you before the trigger. But here we are. So this is Blog and Mayblog. Still one of the worst blog names I've ever heard in my life. That's been super popular. I care about marketing. All right. So he posted this thing today, which is so funny to me because if you go through this, if you go and you read this, it is so clear that this is Doug Wilson writing a blog as if he's being interviewed. And he's not. He's writing both sides. I guarantee it. Unless Joe Rigney was the one who was interviewing and he was just like, Papa, do you see me? And he was just like trying to like be as much Doug Wilson as possible. That's the only way I could see that this wasn't written by both sides being Doug Wilson. So I'll let you do the math on like the ethics of that, of putting it as an interview. When then whatever, but it's written, and you like if you've read enough of Doug Wilson, which over the years I've had to, for this channel, for people sending me things and asking me questions about things. I've read enough of this guy to know that him asking these questions, it is his voice. Like this is all Doug Wilson, which is the most Doug Wilson thing I've ever heard in my life. It's just, no one's interviewing you, but you're like, I'm going to act like I'm being interviewed. Oh man. All right. But this is part of it. So this is the end. All right. So basically it's about the whole thing going on with Antioch Declaration and how they're all mad at each other because like half of them are like, maybe these guys who wore a lot of military outfits and black and red and sometimes gray and really hated Indiana Jones, maybe they had some points. And then the other side's like, that's dumb. Stop being so dumb. And they're like, but you're a boomer, like that's the kind of conversations that they're having right now, which if it wasn't about such a serious topic would be hilarious, right? Like that this, like it's such a dumb fight to have. And it's so like public and like it's so childish the way it's being fought, like people releasing like videos and like audio of each other and having conversations. And then they're like, we have to have a sit down, like as if it's like some huge council. And it's like, you mean with the 12 guys on the internet that are popular? Like you want to have a council of the 12 guys who are always talking to each other? Isn't that just called a Wednesday for you guys? Like, what are you guys talking about? We have to sit at the same table and figure this out. Well, we have to decide that finally, for the first time, we can say Nazis are bad. What? Oh, man. I don't want to hear any of them. If that Reforming Nerdom channel does a single thing about Indiana Jones, I'm going to be ticked. Oh man, okay, I'm having fun. So that's what this thing is about.
Big yikes.
So this is the interviewer asking this question, aka Doug Wilson. Yes, but even if you didn't see it, there were critics you did see these things coming who tried to warn you, ... And of course, Doug Wilson cuts that interviewer off. So like he stopped the voice in his head real fast and then said, there were a bunch of people who tried to warn me about them, but they were the same kind of people who were busy warning other people about me. I knew that they were making stuff up about me, and so had no reason to take their warnings about anybody else seriously. And so I didn't. But our line has always been very clear. On a submarine, which, let's be clear, Doug Wilson has probably never been on a submarine. But on a submarine, yellow submarine, if the collision alarm sounds, you immediately shut the nearest watertight door and cinch it tight. Or at least that's what he read in a book. There is a line that we have that is the equivalent of that collision alarm. If people we used to be associated with cross that line, then we will simply do our duty, of course, and you can trust us with that. We will shut the hatch and ignore the yelling. That's not cancel culture. That's not a struggle session. That is how you keep the whole submarine from going down. Thanks very much, said Doug Wilson. You are most welcome, also, said Doug Wilson. Oh, it's so absurd. But, all right, this thing here. Basically, what Doug Wilson is saying is that he's not the intelligent guy that you think he is. Because anyone can listen to something and separate truth from fiction and what they believe to be true about something and not accept the whole of what somebody says, right? Like some of you guys who watch this stream, you might not like everything I have to say, but you watch it and sometimes you gather some of those truths that you're like, I agree with this thing. So you can accept some things and reject some things. Like that's what a normal person can do. And here what he's saying is because these people were saying things about him, he didn't accept any of it. That's so foolish. Like this is him putting himself in the best position to answer a question of his own making And he stumbles over his own words, over his own questions. Like, it's just ridiculous for him to say, oh yeah, there were people who warned me about, this kinism in our camp and that Christian nationalists, there might be some undertones that would lead into a lot of racism and prejudice. But because those people were mean to me, they're all, I just didn't listen to them. Like, because they were mean to me. What? You heard it? Like, you heard it. It's not like somebody came to you and says, like, all right, here's my hands. In one hand, I have some remarks for you about who you are. And in the other, I have some warnings for you. And they go like, all right, which hand is it? Like, oh, well, I don't want to pick any hand because I know that there's some remarks about me, right? It's not like that. It's people who are yelling into the void of the internet saying all these things, and he heard it. So he didn't believe it, and he thought, I don't even need to be concerned about this because, it's Kristen Dumas, right? Like, it's that person. It's Jesus and John Wayne lady, and so I don't need to be concerned about it. Or it's the leftists, and so I don't need to be concerned about it. It's him choosing and seeing a source and saying, I can just cut off the entire source rather than listen to anything this person has to say, even though you already heard what they have to say. So what you're really saying is that you disagreed with it. And now it's come back to bite you in the butt. I always get concerned of whether is that okay for me to say on Christian YouTube? Some people will be like, no, absolutely not. And some other people will be, say more. Okay, we won't. It came back to bite him in the butt. And so he's just like, oh, it's the source. That was the problem. The problem is the source. The problem isn't about the warning and me failing to learn about the warning or to really do anything about that warning. You don't get to do these things. If you're going to be this person that's acting as if he's some kind of patriarch for an entire subset of Christianity, you don't get to be like, oh yeah, I heard it. I just didn't do anything about it because it was the Jesus and John Wayne lady, and I don't like them. Or it was the Veggie Tales guy, and so I don't like him. No, you heard it, and you rejected it because you thought you were smarter than them, and you aren't. At least in that subject, right? Those people knew. Like it's not some random happenstance, okay? Like, this is a thing. This is a movement that is happening within Christian nationalism that isn't cultural. Like, this isn't like some kind of leaning left, where you could look at like things going on in the world and you can kind of understand why there would be like this kind of drift, if you will, over to the left side. Like that's not what this is. All right, this is something that all of North American culture has said is a big no-no for the last 70 years. And you went like, oh, it's not that big a deal. It could never happen here. And then you see it push and push further and further and further until now it's an actual issue that some of his own disciples are doing. And they're putting this thing out there. Like, you tell me how smart that is. It's not. Like, these guys, they laud this guy up as if he's some intellectual giant because he wrote a book about being wordsmithy. We could be wordsmithy. No, that's not who this is. He can't get orthodoxy right. He can't even listen to the problems that are within his own camp until all of a sudden he's got a bunch of people who are hailing a dude from Germany within his own camp. Great leader you got over there. It's going to work out super well for you guys. Nope. He can interview himself all day. Still not going to come up with a good answer for these things because there is none. He should have seen it coming. People warned him. Just not doing it. All right. Let's go into the chat a little bit before we start looking at this trailer reaction. Let's come over here. My favorite version of O Come, O Come is by Chasing Furies from the first Happy Christmas sampler from Tooth and Nail. You have to find it on YouTube to listen unless you own the album. It's pretty much all like the Tooth and Nail stuff, right? Like, I think they've got one Songs from the Penalty Box. That's on Apple Music. But I don't know about Spotify. I just know Apple Music because I do Apple Music. We come for the rambling stream of consciousness. Good, because that's pretty much all you'll ever get from me. Nut Anderswick. I come for the Yentl references. Papa, do you hear me? We don't want Barbara Streisand coming for Underdog Theology. That would be the one celebrity that would be like, oh crap. I'm so sorry. It's so perfect though, right? It works for it because they're just so desperate for his attention. Oh man. What's up, Claymore? We got Aaron. What's up? Dig the Toronto hat. Joey Votto is amazing. Loved him here in Cincinnati. Yeah, I'm not a Blue Jays fan. I'll just be real clear with you. It's basketball. It's a basketball thing only. It is nothing to do with the Blue Jays. I kind of hate the Blue Jays. I don't hate them. Carlos Delgado, I remember when he almost went for the cycle at Safeco Field. That was pretty cool. I was there. But that's a long time ago. But no, I'm a Seattle Mariners fan. But since the Supersonics were stolen from me, my kids have said that we are a Raptors household, and so we are. Here in Colorado, it was still warm all of October, and then we got 3 feet of snow the first week of November. Not ready for negative temps yet. It's not fair. It's I blame the Christian nationalists. I'm gonna interview myself one of these days. Right? It must be a lot of fun. Like one of these days I'm going to do a Q&A where I write all the questions for myself. I will catch up with you guys in a bit. Have to pause for a few. Uh-oh. The nephews did something. It's like his own screw tape letters. Doug Wilson is just sounding creepier and creepier. A little bit. Like you just have someone, and even is just put it there of like this person asked the questions, like it's, or just write the blog like a normal human being. Like, what are you doing? Who posts an interview and anonymizes the interviewer? 100%. You're correct on this one, Dean. Like you just read it and you can know it. Like look at all like the ... and like the almost sarcastic responses. Do you really think any of those guys would be that sarcastic to Doug Wilson? No, it's him talking to himself in a corner and then writing it down. I'll save you some grape juice. Nice. That old deal is so cringe. Only the question from the interviewer about how are you still so handsome is missing, pretty much. Because the people warning us about them couldn't also be right about me. 100%. That's what it is, man. Just a note, DW did in fact serve in the Navy and has been on a submarine as per my Google search after you just read that. Cool. I wonder how long ago that was. And how long did he serve? All right. Oh no, Dumez, LOL, she will undermine your whole project, or so I've heard. Seems that way. You mention her and everyone's like, oh no. I remember I was doing some interview with somebody, and I just casually said that I was reading Jesus and John Wayne, and I could see it in the people's faces. It was some like LinkedIn thing for some conservative guy. This was way back in the day. And like they went, it's just like an immediate reaction. She's on Blue Sky, I think, like everyone else. Okay. Let's switch gears a little bit. Let's take a look over here. We got a very serious thing. We got to deal with this, guys. Jack Black is trying to satanize your kids. Oh, crap. I just want it on the record that Jack Black is a terrible human being. And anyone who would be associated with that man should feel very bad about themselves. And just if you like Jack Black, you're a terrible Christian. All right. You guys can see it. It's a joke. And you guys got the joke. I didn't even have to explain it. Okay, here we go. Let's watch this, except for we're not going to watch all of it. Let me get where did this thing go? There it is. We're not going to watch all of it because honestly, This is the worst trailer reaction I've ever seen. Now, I've done trailer reactions on the movie channel. Usually you say something. You say something or at least make faces. And this is like the boomer mentality of someone just being like, someone set this up for him and let him just have it. But this is the face that Mark Driscoll makes the entire time. Like it, and it's just silent. It's just him. I don't know how this didn't get taken down, but it's just the trailer and him just blank staring at the thing. But let's get a little bit of it so you guys kind of get a feel for it. We'll go after the poop joke because it's so dumb. No, we're gonna include the poop joke. So if you got kids watching, you might not want to have them watch this part, but. I don't know.
Yo, down here! What are you waiting for? Go make a move! Sue me, I'm thirsty.
I tried everything. That kid's incorruptible.
What about doing something out of kindness?
I don't even know what you just said. I mean, I know all the words, but I just never heard them in that order.
You know this man?
I'm his uncle. Beat it.
Who do you think you are talking to me like that? Oh!
That doesn't sound right.
Pardon me? Kombucha.
Watch this.
Such great comedy.
Please, never trust a thought. You just gambled and lost.
Nice to meet you. The pleasure was mine.
Horrifying.
Horrifying. Okay. So here's the premise of this movie that he's doing this reaction for, because the world just needs Pastor Mark Driscoll's thoughts about the new Jack Black comedy. All right. They just need it. We're desperate for it. So the premise of this movie is that a kid is writing a letter to Santa because he thinks Santa is real. And that's the first problem, because you got to know that a demon is really Santa. Santa, it doesn't exist. Saint Nick, he died a long time ago after he slapped Arius in the face. But really, it's just a demon now. All right, enough of the joking. But he's writing a letter to Santa, but he messes up the letters, and he accidentally writes a letter to Satan. Now, that is kind of funny. Like just as far as a joke goes, it's kind of funny, right? Like how many jokes have been made about Santa and Satan over the years? So that is kind of funny. But the rest of the movie looks like complete trash. Like just a dumb movie. It's like taking an idea that you're like, okay, I can see where they're going with this. And then it's stupid. It's about Satan, I guess, having like a good time, like Jack Black's playing Satan. Or at least a demon, because he's like talking to somebody and like asking permission for something. So he's some like demonic person, because this letter was written to Satan. And so he's like probably becoming like a better person from being around this innocent kid who is trying to, write a letter to Santa, and maybe he knows, I don't know. Could it be Satan? 100%. I should have had that. I should have had that ready to go, Caleb. I love Dana Carvey. All right. But let's listen to good old Marky Mark's. Where is my cursor? I need to move this thing. All right. There we go. Okay. Let's listen to what he has to say about this.
Be the first word that comes to mind. And Jack Black, let me just make this a public rebuke to Jack Black.
I'm a little concerned right now about your salvation and stuff.
You're a horrible, despicable human being for doing something like this.
Billy,
Wow. It's really easy to take shots at someone when you know they're never going to watch it. All right. The idea that, I don't know, maybe Mark is so obsessed with himself that he thinks that like this is possible, like that Jack Black will be like, I wonder what Mark Driscoll thinks about my movie. No, they're not. He's not going to go and see this thing. But just to be like, you're a despicable human being for doing this, for being in a movie.
already told me off. Let's move on.
You're tacky and I hate you.
Also just editors for Trinity. Usually you want to throw something over when you just jack a clip. for movieclips.com, you might want to just cover that or make it bigger so you don't see it as much. It's a little weird to be like, hey, let's do some promo for movieclips.com.
Let's move on.
You're tacky and I hate you.
School of Rock, kind of funny. Nacho Libre, pretty incredible. You've done some fun stuff for kids. That's all well and good. This completely crosses the line. And what it does, it takes evil, the demonic, the satanic, and it turns it into entertainment for children. The team tells me that this is on the same platform as stuff like Dora and SpongeBob. I think it's rated PG-13, which probably means it won't trigger parental, oversight and controls. And
what? Like, what do you think they have for parental guides? Like, I mean, Deadpool 2, I think, is PG-13. So, like, you think that, like, little Billy is just being like, I'm going to watch Deadpool 2. Like, no. There's more restrictions. If you have a child who is young enough to be, like, influenced, let's say, like, okay, let's buy into that this is some kind of spiritual propaganda. But let's say that that's true. You think that little Billy is going to be able to watch this on that streaming thing? Like, what are those parents doing to where they're just like, oh yeah, he can watch it. It's PG-13. There's probably going to be a lot of raunchy jokes in it because, it's made for adults. Even though it has a kid in it, it's made for adults. PG-13, that ain't going to fly.
This normalizes evil, satanic, demonic. It takes that which is really dangerous. And I will say this, Satan and demons are real. And demonic beings, we see in the Bible, they torment children. I'm in a sermon series right now on Jesus' miracles, and there are multiple occasions where demons actually torment little.
Caveat makes a good point. Deadpool 2 is rated R, but they made a PG-13 cut, which is the one I saw because I'm a Christian. Did you see the other one, Caveat? Dang, way to tell on yourself.
Boys and little girls. This is real. Sometimes children don't just have depression, they have oppression. Sometimes they don't just have an invisible friend, they have a demonic torment. Sometimes children are gullible and vulnerable if something is put under the auspices of entertainment. And that's exactly what this is doing. This is taking evil, darkness, and calling it light, the very thing that the Bible warns against. And what this is doing, this is taking Satan and demons and evil and the doorway to the demonic, and it's normalizing it, and it's satirizing it, and it's trivializing it. And what that does, it sets up for the spiritual abuse of children. Any child
right. I need someone from Driscoll's team to let me know that Mark knows what spiritual abuse means. Because he's been accused of it for thousands of Christians in Seattle and has never said a single thing about it. But, if Jack Black makes a movie about demons, no, not the other one. No, I know he's been in a band that has constantly used that for comedic purposes to sell their stuff. Tenacious D. Let's not talk about that. All right, but this time it has a kid in the movie. And so now we can, really rally the troops around this idea. But I need someone to let him know what spiritual abuse means because he's been accused of it multiple times. But he has to go at Jack Black about this. Let's keep on going.
Thinks that opening the doorway to the demonic is something that is fun or enjoyable or interesting. Does not really have the full understanding of where that invariably leads. Satan and demons treat people, they treat children rather like pedophiles do.
What?
They start by earning their trust. They give them gifts. They try to befriend them. They have fun with them before they start to torment, abuse, and break them. And so make no mistake, Satan.
You cannot convince me that Mark Driscoll has ever dealt with actual demonic possession. Now, if you listen to The Rise and Fall of Mars Hill, you will know that he has said he has. you will know that he has done exorcisms. He's had women who have, this little thing called like opinions, and like because they had so many opinions, he had them in his office, sitting in a chair and doing exorcisms for them. That's what Mark Driscoll thinks is demonic possession. Now, he's always talking about this stuff because he's got a book to sell, and probably another book. I don't know. Is it like Yuletide Demons? I don't know. Probably got some Christmas theme going on with him. But he is constantly selling all different kinds of things. This is more of his marketing ploys, but this is him catering to his audience, catering to those people who are nuts and they think everything, is about demonic possessions. You can't do Dungeons and Dragons because of demonic stuff. You can't watch Chronicles of Narnia because there's magic in it. Like Lord of the Rings, you need to be careful about Tolkien, all that kind of stuff. That's what he's doing here. He's catering to those people. He's using them. I don't think he's stupid enough to think that this is actually real. Now, is there some truth to like, hey, parents, you should probably make sure that like your kid doesn't think this is a kid's movie, and like, make sure that you got some parental guide stuff like figured out. The restrictions are up and up to date, and your kids don't know the password, so they can't watch stuff. Absolutely. But you should be doing that about anything. But here he's taking something that Christians can be like, Satan bad. Yeah, Satan is bad. And yeah, Satan is real and demons are real. But for him to talk about it in the way that he does, like that sounds more like The Conjuring than anything any real pastor has actually seen. All right. Like that, he's like the way he's talking about it, this like imaginary friend. I guarantee you, Mark Driscoll just watches a lot of horror movies and he doesn't do his own Bible studies. So he's probably having these things like in his head as he's talking about this stuff. And then he just kind of blurts it out because he's famous for it. He doesn't study. He wings it. He goes up to the stage and he wings it. He has notes and he has things prepared in his head, but he doesn't have like a manuscript. He's been very famous for doing that. He's been very famous for just being in the moment, using different examples and the how dare you stuff, like all that kind of stuff. So I guarantee you that this is him being like, I watched The Conjuring last week, and now I'm saying that's what Jack Black is trying to help kids get. And this idea of like attachment, like it's not directly said here, but he's kind of inferring it of like, oh, okay, this is giving Satan like a foothold in these kids' hearts. If they go and they watch this movie, now they're going to be open for it. You don't want that kid to be demon possessed, do you? You don't want them to be used like some kind of like it's insane. It's not biblical. He's not giving any scripture for it other than this vague idea of, changing the truth of God for a lie, which is if you've watched Mark Driscoll, like, like he says that literally anytime he opens his mouth. Is like, oh, it's just like I said, change the truth out for a lie. He says it all the time. So that's just always there. So other than that, there's no scripture attached to this whatsoever because he is just trying to scare people. He's trying to scare them into supporting him.
And demons are for children, exactly like predators and pedophiles. For Jack Black to turn that into entertainment means that he is literally contributing in the darkest form of evil.
I finally got a generator.
So guys, because Jack Black is in a movie, that's obviously in poor taste. That's a stupid movie. This isn't going to be good. And like it has like a kernel of a decent idea, and then obviously just looks like it's going to be like, if you watch the trailer, it just looks like complete trash, like a really stupid comedy without any, like, I want to know who wrote this. Because I can guarantee you they haven't written anything else that's any good because I just don't see how you could do that with some of the jokes that are in it. But he's taking that so he could use it to be like, look, Jack Black is giving room for Satan in your kid's life. He's the enemy. But what is he really trying to do? He's trying to get clicks, right? And once again, let's just take a look at Mark Driscoll's website, or
the dwelling place.
Kind of is his website, but YouTube. And just look, all right, at his videos. Look what he's doing. Does any of this look like, oh, this is the good news of Jesus Christ? Don't you want to know what the good news of Jesus Christ is? Because he's a pastor, right? He should be talking about the gospel. Oh, nope. There's nothing. It's all scare tactics. It's all using popularity of different figures, using celebrities, and specifically over the last couple months, mostly focused on politics. But that's what these people do, because they're just trying to get eyes on what they're watching so they can get you over the website and get you to buy their ebook so they can have your email and send you emails until you die. And all of those emails have a link for a donation, of course. But that's what he's doing. And that's what so many on Christian YouTube are doing. You saw some of the pictures that I had in the thumbnail. You can see it all over the place. You guys see this stuff probably recommended to you all the time. If you watch this channel, YouTube thinks that you want to watch Christian stuff forever and ever. And so most of that Christian stuff is off the back of Hollywood. And what they're really trying to do is they don't care. These are not like movie people. These are people who mispronounce movies. I'm trying so hard not to just go at someone. But like, they mispronounce movies because they've never seen it before, and they watched it last week, and now there's a plot here, and I can make a video about this. I can make content, and this will get clicks because it has Christopher Nolan's name in it. Or I could get clicks because it's Planet of the Apes, and there's a religious iconography. Oh, what? It's stupid. There's no truth to it. It's just them getting you to click on something. And really what it's doing is Christians, like, these are from Christians who are looking at Hollywood and they're using them in this way so they could just constantly point their finger at them and get like this pat on the back and this paycheck put in their back pocket by their audiences to be able to be like, hey, pat me on the back because I hate Hollywood, and look what Hollywood is trying to do. Look what they're trying to do. And they're not talking about like the real things of like supporting different agendas and institutes. That is a real problem in Hollywood, but they're just doing that so that they can like look at like, oh, it's a movie that came out, and here's 10 things that means that they hate Jesus from, I don't know, what's the new movie? Wicked. Oh, I bet that's a thing. I haven't looked at it. Let's just real quick. This might backfire, but let's go Christian Wicked. And let's just look. Yep, here we go. All right. So we got Wicked, what no one is talking about. And we'll go up so you can see it. Or maybe not. We'll refresh so you can see a thumbnail because YouTube's trying to get us to watch it. Oh, it's the pride flag. Like that's what it is. It's just, Wicked director. That's from them. This guy is actually good. I will say, hey guys, if you want to support someone talking about movies in a Christian way, this is the guy to watch. I like this guy. He's like, I don't do it, but I appreciate what this guy is doing. I think that's a good way to talk about it for Christians. But this whole using it and clickbaiting everyone so that you could be like, look how bad Hollywood is and look how good I am, now support me. And there's like 4 different clips for their Patreon buried in these videos, and they never say anything except for like 30 seconds. There's so much beating around the bush because they can just use it, right? It's all about keeping people watching for as long as possible. And so they're just trying to basically tell the plot of this movie and build up so much suspense so that you keep on watching, so they keep on getting money. And it's really just about that. They probably don't care. Like, they probably don't have any real opinions about it. Maybe they really just are obsessed with Hollywood. Maybe they really love watching movies and they know they can't crack it as like a movie reviewer. I'm not saying I'm a good movie reviewer. I'm just saying like they know they can't be like, a Stuckman or someone like that, John Campea, someone on like that scale. People who are in the field, they know what I'm talking about. Everyone else is like, I have no idea what they're talking about. Or Ebert. Siskel and Ebert, they're not going to be able to do that, but they can get those clicks by scaring Christians, because there's nothing that will sell Christians more than being scared. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is about us as people, but Christians we're constantly looking for the next thing to be scared about. Even though we have the
gospel of Jesus Christ, which is more powerful than anything the world has. He has literally told us he has overcome the world, but we're constantly wondering, how is the world overcoming us? Like all the time. And now they could use it to monetize their stuff. And I'm just getting sick of it. I'm seeing it all the time. I'm seeing it in different ways. I'm seeing it in thumbnails that are, yes, just like this movie and this connection, this what you didn't realize in this movie, blah, blah, blah. But also subtly, like accusing people of things. Like I talked about this, and I'll say his name on this one. Ruslan does this all the time. All right. And I'm not on Twitter, so don't come messaging me, but like he does it all the time with his thumbnails. But he did it like a couple months ago. I'll never forget it. Stephen King. All right. I don't like Stephen King. I think he puts weird stuff in his books, but he used that whole thing going on in Florida about how some people were saying that his books were questionable. And so they were taking it out of the libraries in Florida public schools. And he used that in a thumbnail with a book that said that word that Mark Driscoll said that ends with files. He put it in a book, and it was like Stephen King looking at it with his eyes, and you could tell he was smiling, or maybe even it showed like a little bit of his smile as he was reading this book. What the heck are you supposed to, like, what is being communicated there? Well, you're saying that person is one of those things. Now, you can debate whether, like, should you put that in a book? Probably not. It's gross. It's wrong. I actually made a joke about how messed up it was in my recent video on my movie channel. Like, it's really gross. But to put it in that way, what you're really doing is like scaring Christians into being like, that guy that everybody knows, he's one of those. So click on my video. And then, yes, sign up for my Patreon. And yes, buy all my sources and buy my prayer journal, because everybody needs a prayer journal that has this one specific phrase on it, because no one has access to other notebooks from the dollar store. You have to pay $30 for a notebook so you can pray right. Don't you want to pray right? What is that? It's more scare tactics. You don't need a journal to do your prayer life. Now, if you want one, sure, go get a Moleskine. Or if you're really, if you're real fancy, get an Electrum 1917 like me. But maybe just buy one from the dollar store. But why? What is he doing? He's scaring people. All these people, that's what they do. They scare people into watching. And then they go constantly look at the world. And what the world sees is that these people hate them. Like, not like the stuff that they're making, but that they hate them as people. Like, if you're putting like that thing for Stephen King on a thumbnail, if Stephen King were to ever see that, you realize how horrified he'd be. And then what is he going to think? He's going to see, oh, Christians really hate me. And they're accusing me of all kinds of gross things and calling me these kinds of things. Like, that's serious stuff. Like, but you did it so you can get clicks. You could say Jack Black is a terrible human being so that you can get clicks because he's in a movie that you think is dumb and bad, but you're just using it. Like, you don't actually have those strong opinions. You didn't when you were at Mars Hill about these things, or at least you were real quiet about it. You only did it in your room with women who had opinions. It's a constant thing. It's a witch. It's a demon. I wonder if she weighed the same thing as a duck. All right. That's my thoughts about it. I'm getting tired of seeing it on Christian YouTube. I think it's gross. I think it's wrong. I think it's just honestly not creative in the slightest. And again, like, it's just showing how obsessed these people are with Hollywood, that they're constantly making these things. There's no Christian who's like who cares about these things, who's going to go and watch Dear Santa. All right, that movie's going to flop because it's a dumb idea and it seems like it's just a bad movie. Like, and you feel the need to let all the Christians know so that they can be concerned about this thing. It's stupid. It's just you using Jack Black's name to build your platform even more and not have any actual thoughts about the content and just be like, demons are bad. And Jack Black likes them. He's been using that same iconography for years. No one, like some people probably do, but no one's making videos about Tenacious D. Guys, I was listening to Tenacious D when I was like 16. Listening to Chewbacca, what a Wookiee. You know, like, come on. He's been doing that whole bit for so long. Yeah, they even had a movie about it. So why are you surprised now? Obviously, he doesn't think these things are real. Obviously, he's using it for comedy sake. It's not like a demon isn't going to be like, oh no, he made a joke about it, so now I can get in that kid's heart. Like, what? Where do you see that in scripture? You don't. You see it in The Conjuring. Those are my thoughts, brought to you by people and viewers like you. All right. Let's go. One Girl Army. I was listening to the Sons of Patriarchy podcast and didn't realize you were on. Has Marky talked about what wicked yet? Witches? No one mourns the wicked. I'm on it. News to me. I was wondering if they would use some of my clips, but no one's reached out or asked me. I mean, I guess that's fine. But now, what episode? One Girl Army. I would like to hear it. I'm really behind, so there's like 8 episodes. I mean, you can see it even here. Like I am behind. I haven't seen this, but yeah. I mean, that's cool. I'm glad that they used my stuff. Santana. Ooh, he did not just do Dis Nacho Libre, best freaking movie ever. Oh, you know, we could do it. We could do it fast. We could. It should be under butt. Let's go. Yeah.
And they don't think I know a buttload of crap about the gospel, but I do.
And I think we can do one more. Do I have it? Yep.
Get that cone out of my face!
All right. I like being able to use some of these sound effects. Why is Mark Driscoll rebuking Jack Black, an unbeliever? For clicks. It doesn't matter. He can say whatever because Jack Black is never going to watch it. And because they think that, they have such like low integrity that they could just like say whatever they want because they know someone's never going to confront them about it. They're cowards. The ego to think Jack Black could watch him, right? Do you think I could hire Deadpool as security? Think he'd charge market rate? Maybe. LOL Dora is totes PG-13. Learning Spanish is not for littles. Well, there's some Spanish words. I didn't see either, just knew it from box office news. Okay. And sometimes, I was just kidding, by the way. If you saw Deadpool 2, that's fine. Like, yeah, I mean, you got to make up your own mind about that. You got to, none of this, don't go at this weaker brother stuff. Some people can watch things, not agree with it, and not have it impact their mind. So I'll just say that. And sometimes an imaginary friend is just imaginary. Nuh-uh. It's a demon up in there. Taking a page from Dean's book here. I like this set, but his shirt should be a different color than the wall. I saw that while we were watching. Yeah. I'm just saying. It's the same color. How would Mark react to the music video for Kickapoo? I don't know. I've never seen it. Don't know what you're talking about. After I clicked on this video, I had about 6 of Mark Driscoll's videos recommended to me. I'm so sorry. Where in scripture do we see children being tormented by demons? I can only recall one account in the Gospels, right? The kid who was constantly thrown into the fire. But we don't know why, and we don't know what that was about. So yeah, but there are people who take that one specific example and they extrapolate it to mean all kinds of things, since we just don't see that in scripture, but they're adding to it and they don't care, which also shows like how highly they think of scripture. I had one of my daycare babies say to me years ago they had an invisible friend, but that friend wasn't so friendly and she was scared. Those things can mean a whole lot of things, right? Yeah, a lot of times it's meaning that a kid is dealing with some kind of trauma at home. And they can't tell anybody, so they tell their imaginary friend. They make up someone. And anyone who's dealt with any kind of family trauma knows that. But Mark is, like, honestly, I think he's evil. Like, from everything else to not being apologetic in any way about things that happened at Mars Hill, from the lack of charity that he shows to literally anyone, the way that he just is constantly all about himself, the pride that he has. I believe this man is evil. I don't think he's a Christian. I will not make a definitive statement. I'm saying I don't think he is, and I do think that he is living out an evil life. And I think it's very wicked to say like that it's always demons, and it shows how little you actually care, because if you actually did any research, you would know that, like, when it's stuff like that, like even those specific ways of like talking about like, oh, he hurts me, usually they're talking about the dad, or like this thing happened to me. Usually they're talking about some family relative, and it's not an imaginary friend. Now, there are imaginary friends that kids have, and they talk about them in happy ways, and that's very different. All those women who were oppressed by the demon of opinions, good that Mark was there to save them, right? He's always there when he needs them. When you need a voice to be silenced, Mark will be there. One of my sons was haunted, we believe. It was nothing like what he described. My son did not ever like the presence of the thing that haunted him. Yeah, very different. Campus Crusade for Krampus Time to Fight by Mark Driscoll, right? Like maybe that's the book. What I ended up doing was praying for her during nap time, and after a while, she said she didn't see that friend anymore. We made her parents aware of what was going on throughout the process. Well, that's good. Oh, he might not have notes, but everything he says is very carefully scripted. Nothing is off the cuff. I think that there are things in the moment. I've watched enough of his sermons and listened to enough of them. I'm talking about hundreds of hours of his sermons. Like, I have listened to probably every single sermon that he has ever preached at Mars Hill that was made available digitally, because he was one of my main guys when I was like a young man. So I've listened to enough that you could tell there were moments where he would use something in the moment, and he still does. It's usually his illustrations. Did he just say the Kung Fu Panda? Yeah, he did. During the How Dare You spiel over multiple services proved that. Yeah, I think it was off the cuff the first time, and then it was exactly the same ever since. The only degree that I don't think he ever finished it at Western, actually. I don't know. Like, he was going for a Master's of Theology, which is a 1-year graduate degree. I don't know if he finished that, but he has a degree from UW in marketing and communication. And I think that kind of tells you everything. Like, it's not to say you can't have that degree and go into pastoral ministry, but the way he does things, I think it's pretty clear. Hit the like button, everyone. Let's support Underdog Theology. Dean is doing a good work here. I appreciate that. Tuning in late, we'll start from the beginning, but wanted to pop on live and say I dig the new set. Yeah, I do too. It's much easier, and it's better hangout spot, to be honest. Because I was like trying to do different things and like making it smaller, making it more like cinematic. But then, like, I got like this is a 4-foot softbox here, like, that you can't see on camera. So it's big. And so to have that in the middle of the room, it makes it very difficult to get around and actually use other areas of the room. So yeah, I like this because it's all on one wall, and like I could use the rest of this room to hang out in when it's not this frickin' cold. I don't know why. Why isn't my heater on? It is very cold in here. It's on eco? Nuh-uh. We are bumping you up, bud. We stop eco. We are going up. It is cold in her. You could hear it turn on. Oh, thank the Lord for that. I love that you can control it with your phone. That's been my issue with Christian leaders for years. Jesus merchants selling Jesus for fun and profit. Yeah. And I'm not saying there's no way to like, make money off of what you're doing, but if you are going to be making money in the Christian world on YouTube, I think you need to be real honest about what you're doing. And I think that you should hold yourself to a higher standard than just like the strategies of average YouTubers. And by average, I mean like just like secular YouTubers. And you should be very careful. And especially as your platform grows, like you need to be even more careful about some of the things that you say with your thumbnails. What are some of the things that you're communicating? Maybe Dean will give everyone in the chat free Fresca. Joking. It would cost me a lot in shipping. Jeremy Johns. I like Jeremy Johns. Mark Driscoll becoming charismatic is an insult to solid Christians with charismatic convictions. I have family who are charismatic who see right through him and want all caps nothing to do with him. Yeah, because again, this guy is, when you fail in one area, especially in this world, like he was in the Reformed camp. All right, he had some other weird stuff, but nobody cared, and he was used in the Reformed camp. They actually have solid theology and hold people accountable. So when that came knocking at his door, he ran for the hills to a different group who would accept him. And you will see this more and more probably, especially with like this new age, like YouTuber, like all like these social media influencers who call themselves pastors. You're going to see more of them fall, and you're going to see them change their theology and drop it like a dime in order to move into a different group. And that's what Driscoll did. And the charismatics, some of them should have known better. Some of them, he used their willingness to forgive and used it against them. Has anyone in any of his churches verified any of the stories where he's had visions of their sins? He claims he sees visions of people's sins, yet has anyone said Mark saw their sins in a vision? No, because no, because it doesn't happen. Yes, I cannot stand it when Christian teachers try to scare me into watching their stuff. Even if I love some of their stuff and watch it, that will turn me off from a lot of them. Agreed. Campia, I watch them all the time. Me too. Have since way back in the day. I love John Campia. I know, like not everybody does, but I appreciate the guy. We had a study of prayer class in Bible college. Most of the grade was a journal. You had to buy their special tabs, pour your heart into this thing for it to be evaluated by other students. How gross. Some of this stuff is just so gross. Like, I get why you would want students to be in the Word and to be praying like that, but some of it's just so wrong. Genetically Modified Septic has a series about horror movies and Christian theology. Yeah, well, and I'd also recommend, like, what is it? Popcorn Theology. I think that's the channel. Joe Thorne was on their channel like back around like Halloween time and did an episode about horror movies and stuff like that. And it was a really good conversation and made me watch The Fog. And I love it. So thanks for that. I mean, did you learn or grow in the area of prayer? I mean, it kind of helped. Okay. But it is really invasive. To answer your question, no, he didn't use your clips. I just missed your live stream because I was listening to it instead. I got annoyed by their discussion on homeschooling. Oh, okay. Yeah. Like I was thinking, like, I don't remember getting asked. But I mean, if people want to take my stuff and use it, as long as it's a good project, I guess okay. But I would appreciate a heads up. I'm off a whole week for Thanksgiving break. Sweet. Also, I had a big fight right now with my friend. She made a very reckless decision that was dangerous. Please pray for us to reconcile and have a reasonable conversation like adults. That's hard, man. I'll definitely be praying that you guys can work that out. Let's see. Let's go down a little bit. The Wilson. Oh, hot take. This switch from Reformed to charismatic theology will happen to the Theo Bros, like the Wilsonite Theo Bros. Yeah, I don't know. I think that there probably will be a shift. I don't think that they're bought into their theology. I think they're following Wilson, and now you're at least beginning to see, I'm not saying this is going to last or this is going to grow, but you're at least beginning to see that there can be division in that group. So I don't know who they chase after next. I know that they love Mark Driscoll. Like they do. They still love him. Brian Sauvé still loves Mark Driscoll. They still love that stuff. I'm sure if Elon unhid the likes, you could see all those kinds of guys, the Joel Webbins and all those guys liking all of Driscoll's stuff. I know they still love him. They loved him before, and they probably still do. And so it might be someone like that would draw them in. But yeah, I think you will see a shift. Driscoll's proof that a large platform is in no way evidence for faithfulness. There are many godly pastors with smaller churches. Yes, 100%. Honestly, I'm getting to the point where I have a higher level of skepticism based off of the bigger platform. Just what I've learned. Here's what I'll say. Every single one of these guys with bigger platforms has conceded certain things in order to keep those platforms. That's what I've learned. They are not the same person that they were all those years ago when they got those bigger, like when they first got onto that scene, got the bigger platforms. And I think that's why you're seeing certain people who were on the bigger stages and were doing all the books, and they kind of take these steps back. And it's not because like the super conservatives came over and were like, oh, they're so woke now, or anything like that. It's more just like, I think that they saw what it would take to go that next step, to grow their platforms. And they said, nah, like, I just want to be a faithful pastor. I'm thinking of people like Jared C. Wilson. I'm thinking of people like Ronnie Martin. Like you could see where the trajectory was there, and then you could just see how they kind of went like, oh, let's pull back a little bit and let's just focus on our churches. And I really respect that. And I'm starting to, like, I'm not saying everyone who has like that John Piper level platform is like the worst or anything. I'm just saying when I see those kinds of people, what I've learned about like the steps to take to grow platforms, especially in the Christian world, and who you got to be okay with and who you got to like call out, and like the things that you do to gain more influence. Just the little experience that I have with it makes me go, I just don't see how some of these guys can do that and keep their conscience clean. And like, it makes me, the bigger the platform, the more skeptical I get of how real they are with that persona that we think about them. So I'm saying, now I've met John Piper and he was really nice to me. So I'll say that as well. Like, so I just take it for what you will. Dean, would you tell us a Fundyville story soon? I miss those. Maybe we will. Maybe next week we'll. Like, I'm thinking about adding some things and videos and stuff like this. But we'll see. We'll see. I don't know. Like, I don't want to do the full segments again. I like just being able to do the stream, kind of have a few talking points, not have to study too hard, and just like get this thing out there. So that's what I like to do. And after all,
but then I realized that horses are just men extenders.
So thanks for watching.
Thank you.
And thanks for sharing your opinions, but also just remember.
Yeah, well, that's just like your opinion.
And if you think that, all throwing all the buttons out there is a
big yikes,
then I'm just going to say,
I've had it with this dump. Got no food. We got no jobs. Our pets' heads are falling off.
Maybe that was too far.
Boy, that escalated quickly.
Okay. I'll see you in the next one, guys. Bye.
Fast.